Cool.
Hey everyone, this is Caitlin.
And this is Lacey.
And this is Women in the Trailer Industry. Today we're going to talk a little bit about thriving in chaos, what that looks like, how to manage it, and just some funny stories that we've gone through in the chaos. So where do we start? Let's start with some stories.
Yep, some stories. This is like for people have chaos in their life all the time, right? So trying to decide what that couple of stories are that you wanted to share it's kind of hard sometimes. But for me, chaos comes in a few different forms usually. It's when I have a busy day planned and then something happens with my kids that throws a wrench in the middle of that, that you are mother first, right? So you have to figure that out. And the second way that always happens for me is whenever I am training somebody new, but my original day or how my usual day doesn't stop, right? Everybody still needs you and all these things. So I'll get into details on those, but Caitlin, what are some examples of your chaos?
Well, you had some good ones, and one of those I wanted to hit on is when you have a full day and not necessarily your kids, but maybe your work kids.
Right.
Just shit hits the fan, basically. And so then you have to navigate your day. You have to mediate, essentially, and then figure out what that looks like and kind of calm the chaos that's inflicting on everybody else.
Yes.
But what's some of mine? I guess mine would relate to more of, having days scheduled. They're pretty scheduled to the brim for most of us with tasks and, and meetings. And so my mom's my babysitter. Well, not only do I have to leave when my kids are sick, but now it's also when my mom needs a doctor's appointment, when my mom is sick, when she has stuff she has to tend to as well. So I feel like that kind of throws in like double duty instead of the normal daycare scenario where you can just send them on. But it definitely has some benefits. You can stay at work longer and things like that. But I definitely think that causes some of the chaos for me. And then also more chaos is when you don't handle situations fast enough, and then it just becomes real chaotic because there's noise everywhere. And so you just kind of don't know where to go. So you just go somewhere because you have to make a decision. But so that would be the other chaos that I've experienced.
Yeah, I think too, especially if you have a company where you have retail customers who can walk in your door, and you have retail that you're doing all day, every day with our inbound sales calls that come in and our online sales. And then you have fulfillment trying to do all these other things. I think that walk-in aspect for me sometimes can be a little bit chaotic if you're not prepared for it, because if something goes wrong with an order, or if the customer needs something that we can't get at that moment, or whatever that might be, it might require you to step out of what you're doing to help your teammates to get that accomplished for that customer, because that's real time. They're here, they're wanting what they need. And so in those times, I feel like you as a leader are the one who has to keep it together and to calm the storm, almost like, because your teammates in their head, everything's exploding, right? This customer's in front of them, whether they have an issue or no issue. If the issue is that they're happy, but we are trying to figure out how to get this part for them, that in their world is chaos. And so you have to manage your own reactions to come in and kind of like clear up the issue or give the answers that are needed to get a solution, right? We are all about creating the solution and finding it faster than anybody else. So that's your job to come into it. So it almost kind of like makes you feel sometimes like, okay, where does my chaos live, right? Yeah. Because like everybody has chaos to some capacity in their life. And so where does that live in you trying to help everybody else? And I think that's one thing that kind of gets missed or not really talked about. What do you do in those situations? I mean, not situations where you're solving an issue. Obviously that's part of your job, but where does your chaos live as a leader? You know?
So for me, I kind of learned to expect the chaos, chaos is when, the unexpected things hit how busy you are.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, I know something's going to happen today. And, you know, we always think, when's the shoe going to drop? This is going too well today. When are we going to do this?
It's too quiet. What's going on? Yeah.
So makes you super grateful for those days where you can just plow through your to-do list and you're like, wow, I can do something, you know, other than navigate the storm. But I definitely think just, you know, staying calm to whatever is happening in that time, and then just trying to navigate through it. And then also everything else you have to do can come back, you know, unless there's a do or die meeting.
Yeah.
You know, either you can come back to it later, you can do it later, or you could delegate it later. But that would also be another way that I feel like I've managed chaos better lately, is that I have someone now that I can more heavily kind of dump on when stuff happens.
Right.
Like, hey, I have to go to this emergency meeting. I have to handle this situation. Can you do this, and this?
Yeah.
So that has helped manage my chaos more. And then also, I think different work environments can also help manage it by if it's flexible or not. Like, can you do your job from home? Can you not? You know, for some of our people, they can't do their job from home. And so it's like, what's their chaos look like when shit hits the fan because they can't work whenever they want to, and we can, right? So.
Yeah, and I also think that you should gauge it like almost working towards having a few days that are straight chaos, but most of your days are pretty planned out, pretty straightforward, because in that way your head's not spinning 24/7. Somebody can't maintain that, right? So for me today, as an example, I said I'd come back to it, but like I knew today would be busy for me just because I had stuff lined out. So this morning I had an 8 a.m. appointment for my daughter to go to the doctor, just a ENT checkup because she does have ear problems with getting ear infections. And so we were just going to go check and see kind of like what we need to do for next steps. And then I knew that I had stuff planned the rest of the day. Well, what happened is I had all this planned to be here at this time, to get back to this time for all these meetings that I had already committed to. And so you get there and then they like lower the bomb on you. Like, yes, she is going to need her third set of tubes, which is normal. Kids do have to have those sometimes, requires a surgery. And they're like, let's do it next week. And so you need to go down and plan this, and you need to get it paid for, and you need to do all these things that take time, right? To go down to do your next step in the medical field, whatever that is. And so then you're like, crap. Am I going to make it back? Because I have this meeting at 11 that I have to be a part of, which is the women's committee, stay tuned. You'll hear about that. So excited for our NATDA women's committee. But, and then, you know, after that we have our leadership meeting, and then after that we're podcasting. Here we are, guys. And then after that, interviews back to back but in the middle of that, I get back to work and the daycare calls and says, the girl, you know, your daughter that you just dropped off, well, she's not feeling well, so can you come get her? And I'm like, sure. So, you know, just like craziness that I know at the end of today, I'm going to get home and be like, take a deep breath, reset for the next day. And as long as that's gauged of like, yes, you're going to have days like this, but hopefully tomorrow's not going to be like this. You don't want days stacked like this because you can't maintain.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is, you know, one way to navigate it would maybe to leave more margin. So I know some days we can't, and then some days calls and meetings get unexpectedly scheduled. But, you know, for me, like on Thursdays, I'm like, nothing's getting scheduled on Thursday. I don't care who you are. There's no extracurricular meetings, anything like that, just because things always happen. And so you're prepping for your meeting, and then people come in, and then afterwards people come in because you've been gone. And so really trying to find a place for margin, even if it's like a margin time you have to schedule amongst all your other tasks. But I found that kind of scheduling that in helps the best, and really just saying, okay, this day I'm not doing anything, or like only one thing per day to make sure it all flows and you're not constantly losing your sanity. So I would think that would be one of my best tips.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's really something to think about too, because everybody kind of knows their week's flow. Everybody has that day or two in the week that is kind of open for whatever we need to schedule in. And then you have days, just like what you just said, that stuff shouldn't be scheduled because you have this other obligation that is weekly and it needs to happen. So yeah, I mean, speaking to myself today, like you shouldn't have done that. And sometimes you can't get around it, but and that's life. Right. But
Especially when you're going to be off the next day. I mean,
and that's what plays into it too, is like when you know you're going to be off the next day. So now you're cramming it.
Everything.
Interviews would not have been scheduled today if I was going to be here tomorrow. You know,
Yeah.
so things happen. And that's kind of my point in the whole thing is like chaos can kind of test you to really see, how good you can juggle and how good you can make it through it. And everybody can, right, if they just put their head down and get through it. But not making that an everyday thing is definitely key so that you could stay on point. But
absolutely. Well, are we ready to recap?
Sure.
Well, to recap, just some tips for dealing with the chaos is, one, understanding that all chaos isn't bad. You'll always have chaos, especially if you're busy and then stuff unexpectedly happens all the time. And then 2, leaving margin in your life. Don't overschedule. And then, was there any other ones?
No, but I will say too, just to end it with, chaos is something that happens, but if you love what you do, it's like something that is just part of it and you're like okay with, right? So, yeah. So, I mean, I love what I do. And also you've already hit on it. I think the third one is if you have autonomy within your company or some flexibility is really what it is to be able to do those things. But yeah, if you love what you do, then it's almost like just part of it. Gauge that though. If you don't love what you do and if it's too much, we've said it before, don't be unhappy.
Freedom.
Yeah. Find your freedom. So, yeah.
Well, that's all we have today. Don't forget to watch Juan with Full Send. And then also catch us at NATDA coming up in August. We will have a booth there and with the Trailer Parts Outlet, and then Women in the Trailer Industry and Full Send will have a booth in the podcast lounge doing live podcasting. So that'll be fun. If you want to be a part of it, just reach out to us, let us know, and then follow us everywhere you follow your podcasts or stream them and on YouTube. And we thank you guys for being here with us and following along with our journeys. Yep. All right. See y'all next time. Bye. Bye. Oh, man.